Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Dean Rod, and welcome to Life Beyond the Speed Limit. Why speed limit? Because I am over 55. Today in this video, I'm going to give you my editing tricks and hacks which I have learned over the last 4 years in my YouTube channels. I have two other YouTube channels. One is The Dean, which has around 52,000 subscribers, and that's about law school advice, and I give some legal opinions on certain issues of the day. My other channel is called Moto Dean, and that is about 6,000 subscribers, which is also monetized, and that's for motorcycle niche. Now, these tips or hacks I will give is presupposing that you already started the YouTube channel and you are now in the process of editing your first videos. And these tips I will give is what I learned over the last 4 years. Hopefully, they will help you make editing easier as it did for me. All right, tip number 1 is I advise you to buy a clapper. Those clappers they use in the movies. I'll show you one I have that I use. As you see here, I have a mini one. I also have a big one, but I decided to use the small one because it's more convenient. So what it does is it actually this is used for syncing audio and video. Now, if this is supposing that you are recording your video on a camera and your audio on another device, which I am actually doing right now. So I bought this so that when I do this, I will see little spikes in the audio wave of my audio file. And I will sync that with the same spikes from the audio of the video file. I'll give you a screenshot of the file that I use for this editing for the video. As you can see, I aligned the spikes, audio spikes. And from there, I mute the audio of the video file and therefore test the audio sync. Now, some programs have what they call automatic sync. That may be good, but it's best that before I learned that, some programs don't have it. So that's why I use that spike. Secondly, I use the clapper as a motivational tool because I know it's used for the movies and I know I'm going to film something. So in a sense, the clapper is, aside from the syncing device, it is a motivational tool for me. Tip number 2 for the editing hacks is that 100% sure, 150% sure you will make mistakes as you record your video. Now, you obviously, if the old school was you stop your recording device, repeat, and go back from the beginning. But because it's a cumbersome task, what you need to do is run through the mistake. That's tip number 2. Keep on filming. When you make a mistake, don't worry, you can start again. You can actually start from the very beginning, depending on the length of recording time for your camera. I use a Sony ZV-1F, and that has no duration or no time limit. So again, tip number 2 is to run through the mistakes, which then is linked to tip number 3, which is you have to make a signal, whether it's audio or visual, on the mistake. Meaning you can tell from the video file or the audio file that there's a mistake or there's a scene that you want to cut out. What I do is I make 2 claps. That way I can see in the audio waveform 2 audio spikes just like this, and therefore I know I'm going to either cut that out or edit it out. So you can develop your own visual or audio signal to tell your editor, you yourself or your sound editor or your video editor, where the cut should be. So we are now at tip number 4. I promised 5 tips, but I'll give you a bonus tip at the end. So tip number 4 is, aside from tip number 2 and 3, which is acknowledging the mistake or the bad cut, you want to acknowledge the good cut. Meaning you acknowledge both, give a signal to yourself that what you just recorded is a good cut, whether it be a wave of the hand or just whatever signal you have. What I do is I say good cut. Meaning when I say good cut, that segment I want to film, I want to retain, because maybe the first 2 attempts of that idea or that line, I made a mistake, so I'm supposed to cut that out. But on the 3rd try, of course, it's always the last try, I would retain that and say this is a good cut. So that's tip number 4. Tip number 5 is a technique which I figured out myself. I'm sure you've heard it before, but I like to do the blue steel look. The blue steel comes from the Ben Stiller movie Zoolander, where he plays a male model. And of course, this is the picture of the blue steel look. Of course, you're not going to actually do that look because it looks stupid in the video. But what I do actually is I give you a flat face, because this is done when you want to move to the next idea or next bullet point or the next point of your script in your video. With that, you know you need to make a cut. For example, also the purpose of that is that you want to look at your notes, you want to look at your whatever signal you use, or to read your script again. So what I do is this. So I won't cut it. Let's say I finished tip number 4 and now I'm going to tip number 5. So I give a look. So this is what I do. Now it's the end of tip number 4. And now we begin tip number 5. As you can see, I use this. I try to have the same facial expression at the end of one point and the start of the next point, so that when I make the edit, when I make the cut, it will look like a seamless scene. Sometimes I can't help it, but sometimes my hand, I'm a hand mover, so sometimes my hand would. By the hand movements, you can tell that there's a jump cut, just like now, because I had to do something. So to prevent the obvious jump cuts, and you know you're going to end to a point, begin another point, you want to have the same look as you begin, look at your notes, and start again. So again, have the blues steel look. Now it's time for the bonus tip. Now the bonus tip is not necessarily a manual or an analog hack. It's more of a hack before you start filming. And I actually do that in between videos, in between cuts, or as I record. I like to do some vocalization techniques. You do have to do your own, but what I usually do is just shout, exclaim, or clear my throat, clear my lungs, clear my diaphragm, so that as I speak, it's calm, there's no interruptions, and actually gives me more confidence as I go on with the video. If you've learned something from this video, please help me out. I would appreciate if you give me a like and subscribe to this channel so I can grow and make more videos like this. Hi, please do me a favor and smash that like button. It'll help me a lot and it will trigger the YouTube algorithm. Now, if you have not yet, please subscribe to my channel. If you don't, my dog will eat this exam booklet and that student has to repeat his final exam again.